Well, you might think that those two things are unrelated at first, but in fact, they are related. Okay, that's a one-trick pony. You can only steal everyone's gold once. In the infamous words of Dave Ramsey, this is not rocket surgery. So today I want to talk about the hidden tax, the secret tax. I've been seeing these videos show up on social media, right? All of these TikTok videos where people are complaining about how much we're taxed, right? So if you buy gas, you're taxed. If you buy a car, you're taxed. The registration is a tax. If you stay at a hotel room, you're taxed. There's a lodging tax. If you die, there's a death tax. If you make income, there's an income tax. If you rent a lot of places, there's a tax for that. There's just a tax for everything. And people are just getting taxed to death. And I also see a bunch of videos about how expensive everything is getting. Like the price of eggs is going up, the price of milk is going up, the price of rent is going up, the price of houses is going up, the price of cars is going up, the price of, you know, energy and groceries and everything is going up to the point that it's just breaking people. Well, you might think that those two things are unrelated at first, but in fact, they are related. There's a song that went viral by Oliver Anthony, Richmond, North of Richmond. You might remember that song. In that song, he mentions these two things in a single line. He
What you
says,
think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, 'cause the rich men.
now, of course, the rich men north of Richmond are the politicians in Washington, D.C., but he talked about two things about your money. It's taxed to no end, and it doesn't seem to be worth anything. Those two things are actually related. How are they related? Well, see, the problem is governments always want more money. And these days, we know that 90%, maybe not 90%, I don't know what it is, but a huge percentage of our tax dollars is spent on corruption. So governments always want more money than they can tax from the people, especially when there's rampant corruption. So they've taxed us and they've taxed us and they taxed us and they literally can't tax us anymore. But they want more money. So what do? They print the money. And that is a stealth taxation. That is a hidden tax. And the result of that is they get more money, but there's more money in supply. And what that does is every time they print more money, it dilutes the money that is already in existence. It debases the money, it devalues the money, and that's why the prices of everything goes up. You see, back in the day, we'll just start in the early 1900s. In the early 1900s, the dollar was fixed to gold. So $1 was worth so many ounces of gold. And that put a restraint on the government because then they just can't print money as much as they want. It's fixed to gold. So back in the early 1900s, it was about $18 per ounce of gold. The government wanted more money. In 1933, the solution was FDR, through an executive order, Executive Order 6102, the stroke of a pen, confiscated everybody's gold. He stole it. And then after he stole the gold, put it into Fort Knox, he repriced gold in dollars. So he changed it from basically about $18 an ounce to about $33 an ounce. In essence, overnight, with the stroke of a pen, FDR debased the dollar by 50%. And over time, rather quickly actually, that just meant that everything went up by a factor of two. So you might have had $10,000 in the bank, but the next day, that $10,000 would only have the purchasing power of $5,000 because everything went up basically twice in price. Okay, that's a one-trick pony. You can only steal everyone's gold once. But by the 1970s, just 40 years later, they wanted more money. So what did they do this time? They just said, well, screw it. We're going to depeg the dollar from gold. So on August 15th, 1971, Richard Nixon, in what is known as the Nixon shock, temporarily suspended the convertibility of dollars into gold. Well, that suspension is still in effect today. So basically, we depegged, or Nixon depegged the dollar from gold. So now it's not backed by gold. It's not backed by anything. It is fiat currency. And what do they do with fiat currency? Print it. And boy, have they been printing money since 1971. And the result is that prices are going up. And the money printer has been printing faster and faster and faster over the years, which is why inflation is, you know, the prices seem to be going up faster and faster, faster every year. And it's at the place where we can't keep up with it anymore. So taxation and inflation are absolutely related to one another because the government can't directly tax us enough to satisfy their insatiable desire for money. They just print more money, and it's a hidden tax that causes everything to become more expensive. Another problem with this is not only does it just cause everything to get more expensive, but it destroys the middle class. Money printing destroys the middle class and widens the gap between the poor and the rich. How does it do that? Because when new money is printed, it doesn't go evenly to everyone. It goes to the well-connected first. It goes to the insiders. It goes to Wall Street, the financiers, the bankers, the politicians. They're the ones that get that new money first, and their assets go up. And so they get richer, whereas for the rest of us, prices go up and we get poorer. This is called the Cantillon effect, but printing money and then the unequal distribution of that new money causes a widening gap between the rich and the poor, destroys the middle class. This creates societal upheaval, social unrest, and it's another evil aspect of printing money, and which you can only do with fiat currency. Okay, Oliver Anthony was right. There's something wrong with our money. We are taxed too much. Those two things are related to each other. It's not rocket. In the infamous words of Dave Ramsey,
And I'm not a rocket surgeon.
you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to understand this. They don't want you to see it. They don't talk about it on the news. They don't teach it to you in school because they don't want you to see it. But once you do see it, you can't unsee it. The money printing is the cause of the inflation, and it's a stealth tax so the government can get more money to feed their corruption. Until next time.